everybody. You're very welcome back to Chuck's Chats, episode 5 in this series. Tonight we're talking to Sean Parker, who I believe is over 60 years a member of Bective. Sean, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
When did you join Bective?
As far as I can remember, it was 1957.
Okay.
Certainly season 57-58.
Okay,
yeah.
So coming up on 67 years.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a lot. And what was the background to that, Sean? Why Bective? Was there a family connection, school connection?
I had no rugby background at all. I went to Sing Street and I played Gaelic football and I played in the Leinster Championships and I played a bit of soccer. But my two best friends were the O'Connors, one of whom is still a member.
Willie O'Connor, yes, yeah.
He's my best pal. So he really encouraged me greatly to come along here.
You did a Joe Nolan on it?
He did. He'd been to Newbridge College and was a rugby guy. I wasn't. So I had to learn the game when I came along here. So, and that's where I started.
So you came in cold at 17, 18?
No, I was in my 20s.
Okay.
About 22 or...
Okay,
yeah.
And where did they start you? What team, Sean?
I started on the third A's.
Okay.
And I lasted on the third A's until they selected the Moran Cup team. And then they brought some outsider back from retirement, and I was shoveled off
Surplus
the pitch.
to requirements.
Exactly.
Surplus. So you'd no family link and you'd no school link.
No.
And what would and you said that Willie O'Connor put the squeeze on you.
He put the boot in.
What made you want to play rugby if you were a ga-head and a soccer head?
What I used to do was there was a green patch near our house, and I'd play with Willie, and he showed me a rugby ball first, and then told me how to kick it and how to pass it. So I got an interest in the game, and I felt that I was an athlete too, so I felt that being a runner and being a footballer, I could easily gain the extra bits.
Ball to hand coordination,
Exactly.
eye-hand coordination. So were you local if you went to school in Sing Street?
I lived in Kilmainham, yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't too far to come.
South Road.
You started third A's?
Third A's, yeah.
But I know that I think it was 62, you were on the senior cup winning team here.
Yeah.
So how did your career progress through the years in Bective?
Well, before that, my first sort of move up was onto the thirds. And then suddenly out of the blue in 1960, I got an invitation to go on the first team, that was going to play Instonians up in Belfast.
Okay.
So that was like getting an international cap for playing for the first team. These guys were awesome, you know.
So what sort of guys were on that team that day you played?
Well, Terry Hardy and Mick Cuddy. And
Mick Cuddy, Bobby Cuddy.
Bobby was retired.
Okay.
Yeah. Maurice Mortel was probably nearly Maurice's last match. He retired shortly after that.
Okay.
So we took the train to Belfast, and thankfully Jerry Hardy, who was captain that year, took me in hand and sort of eased my nerves a bit.
So over 60 years ago, and it shows the connection between Instonians and Bective is going back 60 years.
Exactly.
You know, they're nearly like our sister club up in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, they were a sister club.
Okay, so eventually you got on the cup winning team in 62. Were you a winger? Did I hear you say
I was a winger, left winger.
Okay, so you were opposite Mr. Mortel, other side?
He was on the other side, but he wasn't on the cup team. No, he'd retired by then.
Okay.
But in 1961, I got a Metropolitan Cup medal, but I got that by default. I was on the first team, playing for the first team in 61, and we got to the second round of the cup, and I definitely messed up on what should have been a winning try in the second round.
Very brave and honest of you to.
And I was dropped. But I was dropped very, very nicely onto the Metropolitan final team.
And you won a Metro. Who'd you beat in that match?
We beat.
Do you remember?
I don't remember, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Because some people say, and I would be one of them, that a Metro is nearly more valuable medal than a senior medal. It's nearly harder to win.
And the senior one that was my international cap, definitely.
Okay.
But before that, it was interesting that I got selected on a team that went to Cardiff to play against Cardiff in the Arms Park.
The Arms Park, the old Arms Park.
That was
And that's fantastic. I mean, I remember going there,
yeah.
being part of the backroom team,
Yeah.
and being in awe of,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's a Friday
Yeah.
night and I'm standing in the Arms Park and we're playing Cardiff.
We played them on the Saturday. We went over on the Friday. We played them on the Saturday. It deluged rain, and they beat us 8 points to 0. We had a weakened sort of team because some of the guys were injured and then couldn't travel. And when we went to the airport on Sunday morning, there were crosswinds, so we couldn't get out. No flights.
Back on the beer?
No. Back on the train to Crewe.
Oh, right.
And then out to Holyhead.
I've done that. That's a hard journey.
It was desperate.
That is a hard journey. So you won a Metro.
Yeah.
And you won a Senior Cup.
And I won a Senior Cup.
That's a nice haul to have.
Great haul.
And how many years did you play for, Sean?
I played for until about 64.
Okay.
And then my job changed. I was sent to England by my company to do some training, and I stayed over there for about 6 to 8 months. Came back to Ireland, and I was travelling Ireland, and I had no time to train.
Yeah.
So
life takes over.
Yeah, life takes over.
Yes.
I got married in 65.
And then come the children.
And then the children started to arrive. So I retired in about 64.
And when you retired, and I know you said life took over, did you, as many people do, back away to raise your family and come back again, or did you stay involved in the background?
I stayed in the background, but I really, 66, I think, I got settled in Dublin, and then I was transferred to Cork. So I didn't play rugby in Cork.
Well done, yes.
Came back up to Dublin after a couple of years, and managed to meet Tom MacDonald, who was the secretary of the club at the time, and he coerced me back in. That's when my administrative sort of
which segues nicely to that. So did you come back as a dolly, a member of the Senate, or did you go on to the executive?
I went on to the executive, and I went on to the selection committee. There were 2 selection committees. There was a junior and a senior at the time, and Butch Costello got me to do sort of the backs and the senior side.
Okay. So did you, I suppose, during your time then, to kind of bring on your Bective career, so playing, then went into the executive. Did you go on any tours? Did you go on any of the famous tours?
Yeah, went, well, laterally, but the thing we did most was to go on tours around Ireland as a selector, watching the players.
Yes, because in the olden days it could be a couple of days.
Absolutely.
Yes, we didn't have the road network that we had then. And so you said you played Cardiff. Did you do any of the Scottish ones, or Northampton, or Leicester?
I never did. I was pretty finished by then.
Okay, and coaching wasn't
no, it wasn't
your thing. No desire.
There was hardly coaches anyway.
Well, of course there wasn't back in the days. No, the captain was nearly coaching the team.
The game itself was totally different. If you remember that there was no such thing as a squad.
Correct.
It was a 15-a-side game.
Yeah.
Totally. And wingers threw the ball into the line.
I remember that.
And what else? No lifting in the line-outs.
It was
an entirely different game.
A completely different game. The game has evolved a bit like the club has evolved. Absolutely. And we've all evolved. So, what year was it Tom MacDonald got you in to join the executive?
That would have been about 69.
69. And how many years did you spend doing that?
Well, on and off, I spent about 4 or 5 years on the executive itself, and then eventually I came back and did junior, senior, and president. Which
segues nicely into you were president in 93-94 season, when I would have been hanging around here like a sore thumb.
Exactly.
And that would have been the year just before the game went professional, which happened straight after the 95 World Cup in South Africa. So you're probably the last of the amateur era presidents of Bective.
I have one other claim to fame, and that I'm the first and only president in Bective to have been on a promoted side. We went from the 3rd division to the second division during my presidency.
In the IIL.
and we had a couple of trips up to Sligo in order
Correct.
to confirm that.
Correct.
You would have been.
Yeah, I was there.
Well there.
Yeah, I was there. I do remember that. So the club has evolved hugely. What are the bigger evolutions? I know you talked about hookers didn't throw into the line out, there was no lifting. But how have you seen the game evolve, and more importantly, how have you seen the club evolve?
Clubs evolved magnificently, I think, especially in latter years, in terms of the quality of the management of the club, in terms of the quality of the people running it totally. I think they're a tremendous group of people now at the moment. Sadly, we're playing in the Leinster League, and that's from a side that was one of the top clubs in Ireland. It's a shame that we're there, and we really have to sort of have confidence in ourselves and get back up into the AIL at least.
Yeah, I think it will happen. It's you look at Instonians now who are flew through 2 divisions in the AIL. They're up to 30 games unbeaten, 30 bonus point wins. So there is an understanding, I think, from everybody in their provincial league that if they can get out of it, which is so hard, that you will survive. You will survive up there. Instonians are knocking on the door for 8 years before they got out of Ulster. So I think our time will come.
The problem is feeding ourselves with good players.
Perfect. And where do you think that should be coming from?
I don't know, but we should probably be looking at non-rugby schools. Could possibly look at non-rugby schools. But we certainly should be looking at schools that do play rugby but don't have a direct affiliation with a club. For example, Mary's have Mary's.
Go to Mary's and Tenure go to
Tenure.
But you're right, there's a catchment of other clubs.
There is a catchment of other people.
And they tend to move around.
Yeah.
You know, we had a big Congos contingent here in the 80s when I came here. Yeah, that seems to have died off a little bit. And the children are our future. And the junior, the underage rugby, of which we used to have a great structure, we've got great minis, but it's at that under 15s, under 17s, under 18s. Yeah. That's where,
we lose the minis, of course, because the schools capture them.
They go to school at 12 and 13 and they're
You'd like to think that we could imbue a sense of sort of awe at the club itself.
Yeah, and I think the transformation of the club has helped that. I think
that's tremendous.
The ethos of Bective has probably never changed. We now have very good, without getting too linked in on it, very good corporate governance in how we're running the club. So we have the foundations in place with one glaring gap, in my opinion, which is an under-19 side. Right. Which we used to take as a given back in the day, but now we're struggling to field, and we haven't fielded a team. Yeah. Is there anything else you see in the culture of the club, or the evolution of the club that?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, you're around a long time, and you've seen a lot of change.
There's been a lot of change, but it's outside of the actual game itself and putting a team on the field. The evolution of this club has been tremendous. I mean, I think it's one of the most successful clubs in terms of its management and its events, etc. It really is in the top league in Dublin.
Absolutely, and the refurbishment has helped hugely.
Tremendous.
And there is a grow, I use this phrase, for Bective amongst all rugby clubs and rugby teams. Yeah. I do think we have a brilliant asset here in the club.
Absolutely.
And we may need to look at sweating that asset so that we can keep the finances going. Because if we do eventually make it to the big time, that's going to incur a huge amount of cost as well.
Well, we have a valuable asset up in Glenamuck, but I mean...
We're struggling to realise the value of that at the moment.
We're struggling to realise it.
But I think in here, in terms of the hall, it's magnificent. And we possibly should be looking at weddings, funerals, bar mitzvahs, corporate events, lunches.
It's a sort of, it's a clubhouse that you can be proud to bring your friends to, you can be proud to bring your visitors to.
Which may not have been the case a number of years ago, because the club just got a bit jaded and dated looking. Yeah. So onwards and upwards, we've got Paddy O'Brien's new fireplace, absolutely magnificent, his pride and joy of all the work he's done.
Much better than the one that was there anyway.
And Paddy would be, yes it was, Paddy would be a great character within Bective, and Bective is famous for its characters. What characters do you remember from your days in Bective?
Well, I would sort of have to list good footballers.
Well, I'm going to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come at the end with kind of a stock 2 questions on terms of the best players and the best people. But when I think of characters, I think of the usual suspects. I think of the Badger, Joe Nolan, Phil Murphy, characters like that.
Well, Phil I knew well, but in my time, I don't think I would want to call some of the people that I knew characters, so we leave them out of the equation, I think, for the moment.
Okay, okay. And do you have any favourite stories, without slandering anybody? But do you have any stories? So everybody has great Bective stories. I have some brilliant ones. Half of them are not repeatable, but you
don't really know, to be honest with you.
Weren't we lucky back in the day? There was no Facebook and Instagram and all of that. Where I went on tour, stayed on tour, and okay.
We had a wonderful trip in 2006 to Argentina and Chile.
Yes.
Terrific. It was the 25th anniversary, and that was absolutely perfectly organised. But one of the real frightening memories I have of it was going up the Andes to a ski resort and being placed in a chain seat and up over the valley, 200 feet below us.
No, thank you.
I know. When I got up to the top, I found that it was a revolving chain, and you had to leap off.
So if you didn't jump off, you had to
jump off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you play any? Did we play many matches on that tour of Argentina?
2, we lost both of them. Yeah.
And was that because we were tired and emotional heading out onto the pitch?
Tired and
very emotional.
Yeah.
Okay. Your hopes, Sean. You've seen a lot of change here. You're around. You're nearly part of the furniture, the foundations of this club. What's your hopes for the future for Bective?
I'd love to see us back in the AIL. I think we're a side that should be there. We have the tradition, and we have a team that could actually survive well in the AIL.
I would agree.
That team is good enough, never mind last Saturday, that team is good enough to be in the sort of, at least the 3rd division of the AIL.
I agree 100%. Yeah. It's just finally cracking it and getting up there. And I think when we get up there, we will survive, but it will bring its own issues in terms of travel and cost. But I also feel, and I know I'm probably talking too much here, that if we don't get to the AIL this season, or it takes us a number of other seasons, that there's more to us than just the first team. We've got a second who won their Junior 2 League 3 seasons in a row. We have probably the most enviable mini section in Dublin, which is, I believe, oversubscribed every year. So while it's important as a club that we're reaching for the stars, if it doesn't happen today or tomorrow, it doesn't affect the ethos and the culture and the bonhomie and the family of Bective, in my opinion.
I think I agree with you fully, yes.
So what keeps you coming back? You've had ample opportunities to say, I've done it. Good. Extrapolate on that, Sean.
Well, people I've played with and people I've grown to know over the years, and I think they're all exceptionally good friends. You know, they're people that you would want to be with. So you want to get out of bed and come down and watch the
game and have a couple of pints.
Have a couple of pints with your friends. And
it's the fabric of the club, and
absolutely.
It's a bit. I find it's a bit like school. The friends you make in your rugby club in your formative days are your friends for life. A bit like school. But I also love the complete mix of the layers of the social strata. And they talk in Limerick about doctors and doctors, but that's true here too. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. If you're in the family, we welcome you, and
you're one of us.
Yeah, we treat everybody yourself. Okay, so what do you think is our USP? What do you think makes us different from Wesley or Belvedere or Mary's or Wanderers or Lansdowne? What do you think is our unique selling point?
I think primarily it's that we are drawing from a wide spectrum of society.
Yeah, we've a lot of cultures here.
We've a lot of cultures here. We've a lot of city people here. We've a lot of different professions here, and whereas a lot of the other clubs are if they're not, they're drawing from the one sort of school or the one area of a population.
We have a much wider reach, and a bigger catch of people from all over the country. And we get a lot of foreigners like to come in here too.
Yes.
Yes.
And we're central. You couldn't ask for a better location.
And sometimes you have to pinch yourself with the facilities, 4G pitch,
everything,
big stand, capacity that we'll never fill, but still the facilities here right in the centre of Dublin. We probably don't appreciate that as much as a provincial club who are out on the outskirts of town.
That makes me wonder why we aren't attracting more people into the club in the sense of more senior players, and you know.
And that's probably something we need to work on. We need to sell it like a family and a club, but also like a business, and put a business head on and go, what's our unique selling point? What are our, do a SWOT analysis? What's our strengths and weaknesses? What can we fix to try and get more people in here? You know, we've over 500 paid members, you know, and our finances are in reasonably good shape here.
No doubt.
And one would hope that will continue for a long time.
Exactly.
So in terms of the players, and you had a reasonably good playing career, winning a Metro and a Senior Cup. Who is the best player you played with, or you experienced in your time here in this club, going over 60 odd years?
Best player, I would think, if I'm not talking about some of our short-term South Africans that we had playing with us, but the best player that I ever played with was Jerry Hardy.
Okay.
Who was an out half. Before
my time, so.
Before your time. But he was sadly killed in a car crash in '63. But he was capped for Ireland once, and he deserved a lot more. I thought he won the Senior Cup for us, virtually on his own. You know, and that was against a team from Wanderers that included the Kavanaghs, Jean and Ronnie, Ronnie Dawson, who was captain of the Lions, Wally Bourneman on the wing, Kevin Flynn in the centre, and he virtually...
And Hardy won it first?
Hardy won it first.
Okay, okay.
Hardy and the pack won it first.
And in terms then, I suppose to finish up, Bective, the thing I love about Bective is it's full of characters, and we discussed that earlier. So what ranger in your lifetime in Bective had the most influence on you, or what one person sticks out? And it doesn't have to be a player, it could be a coach, a mentor, it could be a drinking buddy in the bar.
Well, one of the guys that I would have been very strongly influenced by and I served on a number of subcommittees with him. That's Ben Keeley Senior.
Ben Senior, yeah.
I thought he did a lot of work, terrific work for this group.
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I served on a number of groups with him behind the scenes and saw the work he put in. He was a very good negotiator, and his work with the Leinster branch.
He had a very strong business background as well, which helped, and he used those attributes to help Bective.
So I had greatest of admiration for him.
Okay, so Ben Keeley, good. And it's great that Ben Jr. is in here now, and he's part of the... Yes, and it's great to see. I love the family lineage.
And his family.
And Paul, and then Paul, his brother, and his young fella Benji is on the senior squad as well. I love seeing that. Seeing the family dynasty, our lineage, our line continuing. I mean, there is a line of families within Bective, with the Powers, the Lunatics from Monkstown, the Sheridans, the McGees, as everybody know. I'm sure I'm going to forget somebody now, and I'll get hammered for it. Okay, so 60, 65, 67 years in Bective, that's a long stint. And you've enjoyed it, yes, because you're still here.
And one of the most recent things that gave me great pride, great sense of pride, was to be made an honorary life member.
Okay, and when did that happen?
2 years ago.
And how was that conveyed on you?
It was conveyed through the AGM.
Yeah.
It was proposed and seconded, much to my chagrin.
Okay.
But
and do you remember who proposed you and who seconded you?
I think it was Declan Lawler.
And did you get tipped off beforehand?
No.
Or was it a complete surprise?
Total surprise.
Okay. But isn't it a great honour that any club, whether it's a tennis club, a rugby club, a golf club, recognises their own people and their own people's
Absolutely.
contribution to the club, because
Well,
not everybody gets made an honorary. Like,
no,
I'm still waiting,
no, yeah.
right? Yeah, it'll come eventually. One
No.
hopes, yes. And you must have floated home then to Foxrock, delighted with
Absolutely,
and to
yeah.
share it with your wife and your family.
Well, my wife passed away a number of years ago, but I shared it with my family very quickly.
And I hope they
Yeah.
were very proud of you, because we are proud of you here
Yes.
too. Okay, lovely to talk to you. Thanks for coming in. Thanks
you.
for sharing your Bective story and your Bective history.
Thanks for your courtesy.
The whole principle or ethos
Yeah.
behind this, we're trying to get the stories of all members, young, middle-aged and older members, so we can nearly get a pictorial, a video archive of people's
It's a wonderful
memories.
idea.
And
It's a wonderful
I think it
idea.
is. I think it is, and I think the more
Yeah.
people we get, the bigger
Great.
a picture we'll get of, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of younger members here who think anything before the year 2000 was in the old
Oh,
black
the
and
old
white
days,
days.
yeah.
I'm kind of middle-aged member, you'd be a more senior member, but we all have stories, and
Yes.
and it's important we get those down. So wonderful
Well
to
done.
talk to you.
And
Thanks
you.
a million, Sean.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap.